Taryn Williams, welcome to Monday Night Live.
Oh my God, how good is that intro? Massive fan of the big countdown clock. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. I just want to invite the people that are tuning in live. I know there's a bunch of you on LinkedIn that don't always come through in the number of views in the StreamYard here. So drop us in the comments, say hello, let us know where you're tuning in from. If you've got anyone from Facebook or YouTube, say hello as well. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We want to make this as interactive as possible. I'll give you a bit of background on Taryn. Some of you, well, I think a lot of you will probably know some of her story, but like preparing for this interview, like in the last hour, just reading through like your LinkedIn profile, I was like blown away all the things you're doing. It's unreal. Like so, I first come across Taryn through Kerwin Ray when you were on his podcast. It must have been a couple of years ago now. Well, it definitely was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it feels like probably 4 years ago, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. Well, there you go. You're founder of TheRight.Fit, which connects influencers with brands. Founded Wink Models 15 years ago. Also a board member at the Digital Industry Association of Australia. Advisory board member for Lamborghini. Founder and CEO of The Influencers as well, which is an influencer marketing agency. Advisor to All G Foods. So yeah, I would go as far as saying you're a serial entrepreneur. Would you agree with that?
I'm just bad at having spare time, I think. So I'm just taking on a few extra projects. But yes, no, I do love it. I like keeping busy and I thrive on the sort of problem solving part. So yes, it's always nice to have a new challenge.
You strike me as someone who's very much ahead of the trends. I mean, you started TheRight.Fit very early on. I feel like Wink Model's been going a long time. You like to keep your finger on the pulse?
Yeah, look, TheRight.Fit really came out of seeing this shift towards digital content creation, and I'd seen this a real plethora of branded content and social content and all sorts of online, I guess, content creation that just wasn't being able to be served by traditional modelling agencies because of the cost prohibitive nature of booking a top tier model for a full day shoot and all of those things when snackable content lives online for such a short period of time. And so that was kind of where the idea for TheRight.Fit came from. It was just identifying this need in the market that there needed to be a better and faster and more economical way to connect brands with the creative talent they need. So models and actors and photographers and influencers. And yeah, I think all of my businesses have come that way, just from identifying a gap and a need that had to be served. You know, Wink certainly started that way, identifying a need for a different type of agency and a different way of running the business. And then I think the same with the influencers, the latest business, which was much more around shaping social strategies and influencer campaigns that actually delivered ROI for brands, because I think influencer marketing is still such a confusing space for so many brands. So yeah, they're all complementary in so many ways and have their nuances and differences.
Yeah. Hey Nick, there must be a delay with the comments coming through. Come on, dudes, jump in the comments. Let's make this interactive. It's fascinating. And how have you found that? How have you found the balance between like talent and brands? Because obviously you need both of them to make it work.
It's really challenging. So I didn't know that in launching a marketplace. Understand, the finding of the liquidity point in a marketplace, it can be really challenging. We are very lucky in that we actually get inundated with supply side in our marketplace, TheRight.Fit. So, creative talent, models and actors and photographers. And I think that we're purely blessed in the sense that creative talent like that can work freelance and often work for multiple different suppliers at once. So unlike other marketplaces where they might be looking to make their full-time revenue through that marketplace, A great example is, a model knows that they're not going to be suitable for every single modeling job that's listed in our marketplace, and they understand that. And so it does mean that we do have a little bit more wiggle room in fixing that liquidity point, but it's certainly been a challenge trying to make sure, especially as we sort of grew more into the influencer space and celebrity space, making sure that we had the right people for every brief. And building out, obviously, the technology to match them quickly and easily and succinctly, based on the sometimes the light information that a client might input in a brief can be challenging.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, completely understand. Okay, so I interviewed Jules Lund. I'm not going to pick on anyone or anything like that. I'm a big fan of Jules, right? Like, I've interviewed him 4 or 5 years ago.
He's a darling.
And I said, dude, what's going on with LinkedIn influencer marketing? And he said, mate, he goes, he had an interesting answer, which I won't repeat. But I never got on Tribe, right? And I got on TheRight.Fit, and I have found like some more and more jobs pop up that are relevant for B2B on TheRight.Fit more recently. And I don't know if that's because of the platform or it's just because I'm getting more attention. I don't know, but I've had some more relevant invitations for jobs. Have you seen influencer marketing in the B2B space or on LinkedIn grow more recently?
Yeah, and it's such an education piece because people have this preconceived idea that influencer marketing is about pretty girls on Instagram, and they don't think holistically about, we've always had influencers on different platforms, whether they were journalists, whether they were celebrities, whether they were sports people. It's just about identifying who that key opinion leader is that's going to shape, the opinion of whoever your target customer is, and then identifying the platform that's relevant, and that might be Twitter, it might be LinkedIn, it might be Snapchat, it might still be TV, and it's just about finding that and then aligning with them. So definitely, it's been a long slog for us trying to educate B2B brands that you can still do fantastic influencer marketing campaigns that really resonate in the B2B space, and that there's the right people and the right channels. So yeah, fingers crossed you will see more coming that way. And thank you for all you do in trying to educate that side of the market as well, because I think it's nice. It's been a joint effort and we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, well, I have had some really good partnerships, but they've always come direct. The influencer head of influencer marketing or head of brand, or it always comes from a different role, funnily enough. And so I thought to myself, like, how do I be proactive about this? Reach out to the brands that I actually like and want to support. And to date, your website's been the closest thing that I've found to the what I'm looking for. Like, it's I think like exactly what you said. It's just about educating the market. That sort of thing is available because there's just so much for B2C type visual Instagram. I guess more appropriate for Instagram stuff out there. But I think it's a huge opportunity for B2B, Yeah,
definitely. And I so frequently see brands who really should be looking at B2B influencers instead posting jobs for B2C influencers and thinking about it the wrong way and I'm like, the key decision maker for that, piece of software or particular product is not the target audience that you're speaking to on Instagram or on LinkedIn, on Facebook. They really need to think more cohesively. But I think, it's a challenge. And I think, it's a combination of not having maybe the skills internally in their marketing team to think about that, but also not seeing great examples or case studies out there of brands doing it well. And so I think the more we can do to champion that and support that and showcase the brands that are achieving great ROI or are trying something different. And we've worked with some really interesting, we worked with Zendesk this year, who did a really awesome campaign, working with thought leaders across LinkedIn and hosting webinars and things like that. So I do think there's brands that are, starting to try that and dip into a more cohesive strategy. But I think we've got a long way to go.
I've delved right into the technical questions, haven't I? I want to shift gears for a minute because I want to talk about your background as an entrepreneur as well. A lot of people tuning in are entrepreneurs, and as entrepreneurs, we're all very familiar with going through challenges, and having somebody that's accomplished as much as you share some of your background would be quite inspiring, I think, most of the audience, for all of the audience that are entrepreneurs, and even the guys in marketing as well and sales. I think we all go through the same thing in our careers. So, did your entrepreneurial journey start with Wink Models, or was there business ventures before that?
That was my first business. So I was 21 when I started Wink. So I'd modeled myself, and then I'd worked client side, producing content and working as an advertising producer. And so I'd seen the industry from both sides and decided that there just had to be a better and more efficient and more effective and kinder way to run a modelling agency. And so Blissful Naivety of Youth started that business at 21 and thought, great, I'm going to, bankroll all of that. So the key differentiator in the Wink Models business is that we pay our models within 7 days. And irrespective of when our clients pay us, we bankroll payments wow. And so I had to learn a lot about juggling cash flow very, very early in the piece, and built a business from the ground up, bootstrap, didn't take investment. And, it was an amazing journey. And it was, it's such a long time ago. It's 15 years ago now. And obviously the landscape has changed so much. There wasn't any support network. There wasn't great informative podcasts like this for people to share their journey and feel like they're supported and have other people that are, sharing battle scars and wounds. So, it's certainly been a bit of a journey. And then the second business was TheRight.Fit, which, evolved out of that, seeing a need in the market for faster, quicker turnaround content and different types of content and more relatable types of talent, I think, in campaigns as well. Brands were really hunting for the real authentic mum or the, a nutritionist or, expert in that space, even, if they're online campaigns and TVCs and print campaigns. So it really sort of filled that need. But it's certainly challenging and isolating. I blog a lot about it. And I think, it's something I've started doing in the last, 12 months, I guess, is really just trying to showcase, because I think everyone sees all the exciting, shiny awards and raising capital and, building out an amazing board and all of those things. But I don't think we talk enough about it as entrepreneurs, about how challenging it is and the really tough times and battling through things like COVID and the uncertainty and, losing a key hire or whatever it might be that, I think we all gloss over and feel like we have to act like it's all always okay and we've all got it together. And I definitely want to go back to the talk about COVID and stuff, because I read a blog that you shared recently, which I want to talk to you about. I've got this here to just give you a little bit of a hint. Amazing. I'm such a fan.
But before we get into that, so you're 21 years old. You're starting a business where you're bankrolling the payments to the models 7 days, whether the brands paid you or not. You haven't taken any money from investors. I'm just sitting here going, how is that humanly possible? How did you manage to pull that off?
It was, so I didn't draw a salary for 2 years. It was killer. Started the business with about $30,000 in savings and mobile phone, laptop, and just worked every hour that God sent for. I still vividly remember sitting up on, this is 15 years ago, right? So it's a long time. Sitting up and Googling and going through the top 10 pages of Google for photographers and advertising agencies and cold calling and cold emailing. There was no automation software to do any of this stuff. It was all very manual, picking up the phone, trying to get meetings. And it was a grind. So and it was a real challenge, right? I didn't have investment, and I didn't have, I had a basic understanding of how to manage cash flow, but we were bankrolling, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of wages every month. We had 650 models, and bankrolling, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of wages. And our clients still had, 60 or 90-day payment terms. So there was definitely some nights where I was losing sleep about how I was going to make payroll on Monday and, beg, borrowing and steal to make it happen and trying to, because I never wanted to let our talent down, and I wanted them to be safe and secure in their professions and be able to go to a job for our agency, knowing that they were going to get paid, they could show up and do their absolute best and, really over deliver for our clients because they had us on their side. And that was so important to me.
Yeah, what a commitment to make, so early on in your entrepreneurial journey. And I would imagine that learning process would have just been like, that's like doing a master's in entrepreneurship, isn't it? When you've got to
Yeah.
manage that kind of intensity.
Yeah, it was certainly, yeah, I always say it was like an MBA, an expensive MBA. It was running my first business.
And so you built that business up so where it's, well, you've built that business up, like, so it's a sustainable business. It's been around for quite a while, and then you've decided to shift gears and go and start another one.
Yeah.
Was that a difficult decision?
Well, I naively thought that I could do both. I definitely thought, I'm going to build, it's like an online shop for models and actors and influencers. I'll need maybe one staff member and, people will just, buy them on the internet, right? Like there'll be no brainer. Obviously, the tech businesses do not work like that, as I now know. So I built an end-to-end onboarding, calendar management, and payroll integration software for Wink. And I fell in love with technology. So that's where the journey sort of started. I was like, wow, there's these new types of content being required. I've built this piece of software for Wink that, was terribly expensive and taught me so many lessons and was really painful. And at the end of that, I was like, wow, okay, what if I just built a piece of technology that could connect brands and talent directly? God, that would have been a better idea. So I decided, okay, well, wow, why don't I build that? And then, I won't even need to have an agency anymore. I'll just have this online business with one staff member that'll be all automated and it'll be amazing, which clearly was not how it worked. But as every, I'm sure, e-commerce business has been like, wow, who knew you need all these staff to run an automated business? So, it was definitely a baptism of fire, that one. We raised venture capital money really early in our journey. I think the business was less than 6 months old. And and it was a very, very different journey. It was obviously a high growth tech company. Wink grew very organically, was always cash flow positive. Whereas TheRight.Fit was a completely different story. Obviously, we had to hire best in breed from day one. The development of the platform was really expensive. We had to go to market, in all over Australia immediately. It wasn't a case of, launching in individual cities. So, it was a very, very different journey. And I'm so thankful for having both of those very different experiences because it's taught me so much about different ways to run companies and, when to take investment and when not to, and what I would do differently in my next venture.
So you started did you start the influencers before the agency, before TheRight.Fit?
No, the influencers is really new. So the influencer agency called The Influencers is only about 6, maybe 7 months old. So that business really grew out of COVID, actually. So during COVID, we had lots and lots of brands. It's nearly 50% brands, 50% PR and media agencies coming to us and saying, wow, we really want to do an influencer campaign, but either we don't have enough internal resources to do it, to execute it, because it's quite time consuming, or we just haven't done it before. We don't know how to do it. We don't know how to tackle this. We're not sure how to vet an influencer or what to look for or how much we should be paying. And so we were saying, well, look, we've got this amazing marketplace on TheRight.Fit. You just list what you need and talent will come to you. Like, it's super simple. And they're like, what if we don't know what to list what we need? What if we don't know what we should be paying? We don't know. So, with COVID, I thought, okay, well, look, so much of people's marketing money was shifting online and predominantly the influencer spend. So we said, right, let's start an agency that's going to support them through that journey. And instead of, forcing them to post a job in an automated marketplace when they didn't feel, that they were equipped to do that or that they didn't have the resources to do that, we would handhold them through the process and give them a white glove solution and help them identify what their strategy should be and who they should be working with and how they should measure ROI and all of those things. So, so that business is, literally 6 or 7 months old and it's been amazing. It's so rewarding to see, firstly, to educate people through the process. Like I just get so much satisfaction of that. Someone coming in who's never done an influencer campaign before, who leaves, after doing their first campaign with us, knowing what an engagement rate is and, what they should be looking for and how to brief someone effectively and what to put in mandatories and how to measure the ROI on their campaign. So, I really derive a lot of satisfaction out of that. And I think also trying to reposition how people think about influencer marketing, because of course it does have a little bit of a dirty name and people, associate it with fraudulent followers or all sorts of, negative connotations. And so being able to change that for the industry as a whole, I find really rewarding.
Yeah. And to have your hands-on support, the agency support doing that, does the campaign have to be a certain size or certain?
So we just charge a flat. We just charge a flat $3,000 fee. So it's another thing that I wanted to change for, because usually you either have to hire an agency on retainer for a minimum of 3 months, or you pay a commission of your total spend, which can get really confusing because you don't know how much the actual influencer is getting paid. And so we just said, look, we're just going to charge $3,000 per campaign, and then you can spend as much or as little on influencers as you'd like. You can run a contra-only campaign where you just do gifting and it's still $3,000, or you can spend $50,000, $60,000 on a campaign and our fee stays the same. So I just wanted to make it really easy for people to understand and digest and build into their budgets. So, yeah.
Cool. All right, let's give a couple of shout outs to some of the people that are dropping in the comments here. Hi, Lacey.
Hi, Lacey.
Thanks for joining us. Panda's pretty active in the comments here. We got Najma from, based in Perth. How you doing? And
everyone knows not paying yourself first.
Matthew Mace, my man, he's over on Facebook. We got Karen Hennessy on Facebook as well. Bit of a party going on Facebook.
I love this. This is such a cool platform. I didn't realize you could aggregate all of this.
Well, I think these guys would be a good client for you. But anyway.
I'm definitely checking it out.
These are where I get the inquiries from. They're from either a streaming service or like Linktree was I did some work with them.
I'm such a fan of those guys.
Yeah, there's guys like this, especially after they do a capital raise. It seems to be when they seem to be reaching out. They're trying to spend the money.
Yeah.
These tech companies,
get as much press
it's ideal,
possible. You should.
I think they're doing a lot on
LinkedIn.
A headphone sponsor? No, I've been reaching out to Dr. Dre for years, but
you just got that out.
So tell me about what you've learned from Ray Dalio, because I really enjoyed your article you shared on it.
Oh, thank you. I'm just such a fan of his thought processes, and for anyone who hasn't read it, please go and get a copy. It does look really weighty when you pick it up off the shelf, but it's thoroughly enjoyable. So Ray Dalio is the founder of one of the largest, or possibly the largest, private equity firm in the world, Bridgewater Capital, and has something like, I don't know, $370 billion under management, something like that. But he has this idea of idea meritocracies, which I just love. I'm all about like brutal transparency. He calls it radical transparency. I call it brutal. Tomato. But so it's all about the best ideas rising to the top. So in his organization, he has built a system where they're very, very data-driven, very data-led and data-driven, which is fantastic. And any person in the organization can have an opinion on anything in the organization. And anyone, all of those opinions are weighted based on a whole bunch of different things. So how inclined that person is towards risk or negativity or whatever. And then all of those ideas and opinions are weighted. And then the best ideas and I guess insights rise to the top. And then it's a constant iteration process from there. So instead of the CEO getting to make all the decisions or the founder or whatever, it can literally come from anywhere. It can come from an intern. And I think it's just, you read the blog. So, when I first started my first business, I was like a real martyr. And I was like, no, like it's my risk. I have to carry it all. I've got to, shoulder all the responsibility and all the blame. And, I can't tell my team what's going on because God forbid they'd be terrified, if they know that we might not make payroll on Monday or whatever.
A lot of us can relate to this. Yeah.
And, you're a massive control freak. So you're like, oh, I want to hold on to everything. And it took a long time for me to realize like all I was doing was disempowering all the people around me who could help me, who actually I was paying to help me and who had the skills in areas that I was never going to have, like our dev team and product team and all of those things. I was just preventing them from helping me. And it was, totally ridiculous. So I made a decision to give them total transparency. So it started actually in TheRight.Fit. I gave all of our team, they have complete access to the P&L and cap table, all of the key drivers of the business, which kind of freaked me out a little bit at the start, because, you have this idea of like, oh, what if people see how much other people are getting paid, or, and some of it we condense into line items so, people can just see how much the overall cost is, for the marketing team or engineering or whatever. But people they're smart, right? And if they feel valued in their roles, and if they can see transparently, okay, these are the operating costs of the business. If we spend more on marketing and it drives results, then that's fantastic. Or if we hire more engineers, I can see this is the impact on the business. And everyone in our business has equity. They all want to see the company succeed. So the more transparency I give them to the key drivers, the operating costs of the business, and give them the ability to have input into what could work, or to identify the number of times they've identified issues in the business before I could possibly identify them, because they're working in a different area of the business. It's phenomenal. They've spotted things and gone, oh, wow, that's a really amazing opportunity. Have you seen the data cut in this way? And so I actually retrospectively input that into Wink as well, and said, right, okay, this is the drivers of the business. This is how much money we make. This is how the business works, and really try to empower them with as much data as possible, which was quite different for a traditional agency business, like going back and going like, what are the repeat rates of our clients and things like that. So and I learned all of that from Ray Dalio's book, and it just really, I think for me, was a massive shifting in thinking about it being something that I had to shoulder and carry, and the burden, and being smarter, to being like, okay, actually all these people are in it with me, and the best ideas will rise to the top. And I inherently believe people are good and want to help others and want to do the right thing. So.
Did I hear you say in somewhere in there that everyone has equity in the business? What did you?
Yeah. So we have an ESOP plan, and all of our staff members have equity, and which and I think it's an amazing idea, and it's something I've also retrospectively put into Wink models as well, because I'm asking these people to carry big, heavy rocks uphill for me every single day, and take big risks, and leave comfy jobs at Telstra or Westpac or whatever, and believe in my crazy idea, and believe that this could be something amazing. And they deserve to be rewarded for that. And they deserve to, the hours that they put in, and the ideas that they input, and, that it's high risk and it's high reward. And I want them to be compensated accordingly. And so I think it's like it's something that I wish was easier to do in Australia. It's not, it's quite, it's quite a convoluted process, and, not super tax efficient all the time, but definitely would highly recommend it if you're in the position that you can, to be able to reward your staff with equity, and take them on that journey, and allow them to, really be a co-owner in the business.
Yeah. And so day to day, do you still spend much time in the modelling agency or not?
No. Once I realised I definitely could not do both, and when we raised capital, it was very much all hands on deck at TheRight.Fit, and building out the team, and running really hard at that. And so that's been an all-consuming journey. So I don't have anything to do with the Wink Models business on a day-to-day basis. I have an amazing team there, and an incredible GM who make all the magic happen. And now I just chime in. I actually did move them back into the same office as us, just at the start of COVID last year. So I can now chime in with my terribly unhelpful ideas across the desk, and they go, yeah, no, we already do that. Thanks, Taryn. So it's made me realise how out of touch I am with what they do on a day-to-day basis. And so I don't play a day-to-day role in that one.
And so you mentioned that during lockdown and COVID, a lot of money's been shifting into the online space and into influencer marketing. And I just guess because of lack of experience, like, a lot of people don't know exactly what they're doing, but there is an opportunity there. So have you seen business pick up since COVID, or hasn't it been that straightforward?
Yeah, It's been a combination of both. So unfortunately, we have clients in both camps. So some of our best clients are Koala, who obviously performed phenomenally during COVID. Canva, Adore Beauty, people who happen to be in industries that were that COVID was very beneficial to. And then the other 50% are clients like Qantas is one of our biggest clients. So obviously decimated during this time. So it's been a real mix. So we have seen a lot of companies really suffer, and then a lot of companies who had, I suppose, more marketing money to spend than ever before. And then a lot in the middle that just needed to pivot their strategies. So who were potentially doing a lot of out of home or a lot of TVC and were like, right, okay, we really need to pivot to online or influencers or creating. The other big one was brands shifting from doing their own face-to-face photo shoots. So we have a lot of clients who would shoot, weekly or fortnightly for e-commerce or a whole bunch of different things, and even just refreshing their own social assets. And they couldn't do that anymore during lockdown. They weren't allowed to hire a photographer and model and put them in the same room. So they had to think creatively about how they could use content creators and influencers to create content, not necessarily for distribution on that person's own channels, but just for the brand to use for theirs. So that's been an amazing development, I think, through COVID, is brands recognizing the value of creators, and that they can, instead of having to hire a studio and a food stylist and food photographer and a retoucher and a hand model talent and all of these things, they can actually hire a great content creator who can do that for them at a fraction of the cost, and who has a portfolio of amazing work that you can see. So that's been a really interesting change during COVID, and I think one that we'll see continue, especially with the changes for Facebook as well, and the changes with the Apple updates in not allowing tracking. I think we're seeing a lot of brands really struggle to get the ROI that they were getting before in some of their more traditional ad channels. And so looking for new ways and looking for new audiences, and influencer marketing is an amazing way to do that.
Yeah. Well, so when we reconnected on the social media marketing, I'm going to say not the institute, social media college panel, the topic came up about TikTok. And I wanted to ask you about TikTok.
Are you on TikTok?
I'm one of these guys that doesn't get it, right? Like I'm on there. Like I know there's attentions there. I'm terrible at choreography. So I'm one of those guys that's on there, but I'm not on there, if you know what I mean. I've got a couple of posts.
Me too. That's okay. I'm learning baby steps.
Yeah. So, but you were saying that TikTok as a company is providing a lot of support to creators in Australia, and it is turning into quite a sizable market for influencer marketing.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal, and just the difference between their approach to Facebook's approach. I'm sure if anyone here has ever tried to get in touch with Facebook because your ad set's been disapproved, or there's a problem with your account, and it's like you just get hit with a brick wall. TikTok have been the exact opposite, and they are so proactive in onboarding brands, onboarding creators, hand-holding you through the process of how to set up your campaigns, organizing, informative get-togethers and events and, panels. And I just think what they're doing is phenomenal. Like it really is. It's That's back awesome. To, I understand it. You can only do that hand-to-hand combat piece for so long and do things that don't scale, but I think it's exactly what social is about, right? Like it's about building connections, and you're probably exactly the same as me in that, I'm like, I don't really understand this platform. I really need someone to walk me through it and give me some guidance. And they completely accept that. And they're like, we totally understand that. And let us take you on that journey. And there's no, condescension of, God, you should get it. And, just go and set up an account, post some content. It's like, hey, we get it, and this is going to have different purposes and different uses for different people. And I think probably a little bit like you, I was like, yeah, but I'm not like going to be dancing on the TikTok, this is not my thing. And I've come to learn the depth and breadth of the platform. Like there's just so much going on there that I just didn't know about. So I'm so intrigued to see what the next 12 months look like, because lots more brands are dabbling in it.
I'll reach out to TikTok. Yeah, I've got to keep on these things. LinkedIn.
I'll do a little intro for you. Yeah.
What about Clubhouse? You on there?
Look, I downloaded it that day when I think everyone was like spamming everyone with their invites. And I was like, oh my God, what is this thing? Why am I getting like 8,000 texts about join Clubhouse? And I downloaded it and I just decided it was another thing that I was going to have to engage with. And I will admit, this is more noise in my life than I can deal with right now. And are you the same?
Well, it made the decision easy for me because it's not on Android, right?
Oh, perfect.
So I'm like, that's my excuse. But I heard the app's coming soon.
I consumed, I didn't participate. And then I thought, oh God, I feel like this is another thing that I'm going to have to, add to my list of social scheduling each week. And it just felt a bit overwhelming. So.
Okay. Well, look, Matthew's part of the club that's not on TikTok, hasn't made it work. Hey, Sonia, how you doing? Good to see you. It's good to see some familiar faces here. It is now that, so that excuse is invalid. Fair enough. So
getting called out there.
Yeah, 100%. Is it on Android now? Is it okay? Well, I'll get on it if it's on Android. 100%. I wasn't ready.
We'll do the next one. We'll do the next one of these on Clubhouse. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I've heard some cool stories. Grant Cardone was saying he raised $7 million in 2 hours on Clubhouse. I was like, wow.
Wow.
For his
maybe jokes on us.
thing.
It's like NFTs. Like I keep going, I don't understand it. It's lost on me. I don't understand why I buy an NFT of a meme. Maybe joke's going to be on me there too. Maybe I should have made my money as an NFT trader.
Yeah, you could be slow on to pick up on these things and still be way ahead of the curve, can't you? I mean, it's still early for TikTok, right? Yeah, this is true. I'm very early for Clubhouse. I don't know. I haven't heard of any brands activating on Clubhouse yet. It'll be interesting to see if that happens. Okay, that's interesting. Well, yeah, a lot of influencers are diving in there and seem to be, I don't know, getting something out of it. Everyone's raving about it. Like you said, that, all those invites coming through. What a great marketing strategy. You just give somebody that social currency. I loved it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I was like, I don't know what to do with this. Sure, I'll invite some people. Okay.
What are you most excited about in your business? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like that restaurant, right, in New York called Please Don't Tell. Have you heard of this place? Please Don't Tell. No marketing. There's a hot dog stand, and you go inside the hot dog sort of stand, and there's a phone booth at the back, and you pick the phone up, and you got to know a password, and then you can enter this restaurant through the phone booth. There's no front entrance. It's called Please Don't Tell. So of course, if you go to visit New York, everyone wants to take you to the secret restaurant. So it's packed every night. They do no marketing.
Yeah. So New York. I love that.
It's amazing. What are you most excited about in your businesses at the moment?
Oh, that's such a great question. Quite a few. So I've had a new hire start in the influencers agency who's phenomenal. And it's so nice having new, fresh blood in a business and seeing other people really want to run at things. I find that really inspiring, especially, so I sound so old, especially the younger generation. Coming in and going, wow, I see so much of you so much of me in you, and really wanting to take someone on that journey with you. So that's always just thoroughly inspiring and motivating, and gives you all the good feels about a business. Because I think business is so much more than just selling stuff, right? It's about all the people that go on the journey with you and Absolutely. The team. And then we have some really, really exciting features coming in TheRight.Fit, which I'm super pumped about. So it's just the never-ending journey. Again, when I first started this business, I thought, you just build a website and then it's done, right? And you just sell things on the internet. It's 4.5, 5 years later, and we're still building features, and there's still more to come. And so that's always really nice.
Yeah. How many people are in the right fit, just to give people some context of what it actually takes to make this engine work?
Yeah, it's a bit of, so there's 17 full time, and then a bunch of like consultants and contractors and offshore support and all of those things as well. So yeah,
there's a lot more than
people
think. Yeah. Well,
It takes a lot.
You've done exceptionally well.
Costs a lot. Thank you. It's been such a learning experience, and I think if nothing else, you come out the other end of these things, and the learnings and the reflection that you have. I think so much more now at this age, I think, than I did in my 20s. You go, wow, that was so many key learnings about how you operate as an entrepreneur and your skills as founder and your strengths and weaknesses. I think are really truly reflected day to day in a business.
Okay. So what's one of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome as an entrepreneur?
Oh God, there's so many. Definitely learning how to delegate, right? Like you have such a clear vision as a founder. You're like, no, I want it done this way. And then you realize like you're standing in the way of your own success. Like I was such a, I was insufferable, I think, in the first couple of years. So definitely that. Being a non-technical founder in a technical business has been really challenging. And, at the start, I was like, oh God, I'm out of my depth. I don't want to ask questions or seem like I don't know what I'm doing. And so I'll let someone else take that meeting, or I'll, trust what that person says. And I got great advice from a mentor once who just said, like, there shouldn't be anything in your business that whoever it is can't explain to you in a way that you understand it. So whether it's a supplier or a team member or whatever. And so as soon as I took that approach, I would just go into meetings with Stripe, our payment provider, or whoever it might be, and I'd be like, walk me through it. Explain to me what this means. What are the implications? What are the risks for us? What are the opportunities? And once you take that approach, instead of getting caught up in all of these scary acronyms and being terrified that you're going to seem silly for asking a question, the whole thing becomes so demystified and so much easier to attack. So that was definitely a real challenge for me at the start, was wanting to I think be perceived that I had this all together and that I wasn't silly and instead just actually making my own life harder. So that was definitely a key learning, and now I've learned so much through this journey, and I love helping, I think, other people go through that and realize, like, it's okay. You don't have to know the intricacies of your GA tagging or the back end functionality of your site or whatever, but just know the questions that you need to ask and know the outcome. Like, what is the business outcome that you're trying to achieve? And anyone who's worth a grain of salt, who is technical, will be able to convey that to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about the questions. Yeah, the questions you ask is the main thing. And a lot of us, I remember when I was starting out in my career, I can relate, being 21 years old, youngest one in the boardroom by far. Like, I'll always be smart dressed, scared to ask questions because I don't want to look stupid, pretend I'm older than I am. Like,
hide behind emails. I remember that, being like, oh God, no one's going to trust me because I'm 21. Like,
100%. I can totally relate to that. I wanted to ask you something before we just lean over and just see if. By the way, guys, in the comments, drop in your questions. This is your opportunity to ask Taryn a question. If you've got any questions about influencer marketing, entrepreneurship, what an impressive career in entrepreneurship you've had. So delegation, that's a big one, isn't it? And when do you think is it when you made the transition to the right fit that really started to, you're like, okay, now I kind of have to do this, have to delegate? Yeah,
it was really tough. And I actually did it quite badly, to be honest, when I stepped out of Wink. So we just raised capital. I was like, oh, geez, there's no way I can do this at the same time. I got to go. And had a phenomenal managing director in the Wink business, and went, cool, I'm like going to do this other thing. So like, see ya, bye. Like, got to go. There was like literally zero handover. And in all honesty, I was kind of like, well, that business is fucked because, you know, I assume I can swear on here. I have
totally
been, you know, I'm the founder. I've been in this business for whatever it was, I don't know, nearly 10 years by that point. You know, if I leave this business, it's going to fall over. No one's going to want to work with our company without me. And clients going to freak out and they're going to be calling me. And oh my God, like so much key man dependency. And I put a redirector on my email and no one cared. Like I didn't get a single question from a client being like, oh my God, like, you know, where have you gone or what's going on? Or like no one cares. It's so much, you know, all in your head and all ego. And so I actually did a terrible job of handing over and empowering my MD in that business. Thankfully, she'd been in the business for about 3 or 4 years by that point. So it was okay, but it was certainly like here you go, I'm out. And, you know, thankfully it worked, but there was definitely moments where on reflection, I was like, you really did the business and your managing director a disservice just by being, and it was purely you know, unfortunate circumstances in timing and things like that I had to sort of go and run at this other thing. But it certainly taught me a lot for how to do it better the next time.
Yeah. I just remembered where I was going when I jumped in there and started saying how I could relate to being younger. And I want to ask you just about like mentors. You mentioned mentors a couple of times already since we've been on here, but like how early on did you seek mentors out? How important have they been in your success as an entrepreneur?
Totally, like absolutely foundational to who I am today. I definitely wouldn't be here without the mentors that I have along the way. I probably didn't realize, so I probably got my first mentor when I was about 18, 19. I probably didn't realize then that it was actually like a mentor. I had just met someone through work who I found really interesting and reached out and said, look, can we have coffee? I've got a few questions about what I want to do with my career and I'm not sure and I'm thinking about doing this thing and could I get some advice? And it started out as just a really sort of informal catch up, and then you know we catch up every sort of month, and then it sort of became more regular, and he became just an incredible advisor to me, an incredible mentor, taught me so much, helped me workshop so many problems and questions, and also just you know see the world in a different way, like a different lens. And so that was probably my first experience of mentorship without probably realizing that I was getting a mentor. And then my next mentor actually came from, I was asking a phenomenal business leader, you know, what payment integration he uses on the very large leading Australian e-commerce business. And I was like, what do you use Stripe or Braintree? I was down at the real nitty gritty of picking what we were going to use at TheRight.Fit. And he was like, I don't know, like you'd have to talk to our you know, CTO or CIO or someone about that. I'm the CEO, I don't look after that stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. And he introduced me to their CTO, and I went and had a coffee with him and explained this idea that I was kicking around and what I was trying to build out. And I was trying to sort of model out how much the costs were going to be on credit card fees and choosing a payment platform. And he just, you know, spent an hour and a half with me and went through, okay, here's all the things that you need to think about. Here's all the pain points in a business. Here's all the things that you don't know about e-commerce yet. How are you going to scale this? You're going to need a product manager. I was like, what's a product manager? And he's like, okay, right, you need this, you're going to need that. And it was amazing. And, you know, he ended up being on my board for a number of years and was a phenomenal mentor. He was an American entrepreneur. He'd won it all, lost it all, won it all again, and ended up living in Australia and working as CTO of this group. And he taught me so much about entrepreneurship and leadership. And again, just came from a really organic relationship, being introduced to someone. And I think people want to pay it forward, right? Like they've had I mentor people now. I want to see people do well. I care about being able to pass on that knowledge. And, and so I think, if you reach out with the right questions and if you're willing to take their feedback and to show that you're, implementing the changes that they suggest or, exploring the things that they've suggested, then but I wholeheartedly think it's the best thing you can ever do, personally and professionally.
Yeah. So pleased to hear that. Yeah. I think it's great advice, and it's good to hear that you're paying it forward now, because I imagine you could be a great mentor for a lot of young entrepreneurs.
Oh, I don't know about that. I wish I had the patience and the virtue that my mentors have both had. But yeah, my current mentor is very an incredibly holistic person, and yes, so I still reap the rewards, and I wish I would, if I could be half of what they are, I would be grateful. So.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. My the mentors I've had in my life have been very patient individuals as well.
Yeah, and we're like the exact opposite of that. Yeah,
because we're so similar that that's what we need, or what?
Yeah, that calming, reassuring voice.
Yeah, I'm a fast to implement, but I'm also like fast to forget and fast. I just the shiny objects are a big problem.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So patience is a virtue if you're mentoring me. Matthew's asked, what made you decide it was time to do something else business-wise? Was it just the other business had become your bigger passion?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. It was a combination of things. I really fell in love with technology. I was so out of my depth I think because I'd been in the sort of modeling industry for such a long period of time, and I built this agency, and sure, it obviously still every business has its challenges, right? But I really felt like, I'd built this end-to-end onboarding and calendar management payroll integration software. The business was humming along really nicely. It had year-on-year growth. It was, I don't want to say by any stretch of the imagination that it was easy, but it was a really good business. And I had an amazing team, and I was really happy. And building that piece of technology nearly killed me. Like, it really was such a challenge. It was so painful. I did all the things that you think you should do. I went and got 3 competitive quotes from 3 different agencies who build software, and I was like, I want to build an app, and it's going to be cool, and it's going to manage our models and whatever. And it cost me like $500,000. It took nearly 2 years to build. It was just a disaster, right? Like, I had no idea about building an MVP. I was like, yeah, add a button that does that. Sure, let's add, license details, or like just stuff that I was never going to need, right? And so I loved it. I fell in love with going, oh my God, I can solve a business problem using technology. Like, the end goal, actually happened, and, it transformed that business. But like, I could solve what I needed to do through technology. And I was like, that's amazing. You can actually build something, and have it has a real life impact. It meant that we removed all the key man dependency in the business. It provided scalability and all of those things that we just never could have in a business that is inherently so key man dependent, right? Like, we have bookers who manage jobs. And so I really fell in love with it. And I was like, well, I really want to apply this to something. I really want to go and find something that I can work in that is technology based, that uses my domain expertise, but allows me to learn and challenge me. And I probably didn't realize it was going to be as challenging, right? Like, you're like, oh, just a small challenge, not like a giant, large challenge. But I wanted to give it my all. I wanted to learn and get out of my comfort zone, I think.
Yeah, well, it's great to see you succeeded. So many people go and try to create a technology and realize that, and then it doesn't work out. So you've done really well. Very inspirational. I can see from the comments a lot of people are very inspired by what you've shared with us today. So thank you so much for your time.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's been so good to chat, and thank you everyone that came.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. I hope you have a great week in business. We'll see you next week on Monday Night Live.
Love it.